Hello there everyone, it's Anirl, your key to the past of Simplex. And in this video, I'm going to be showing you my recreation of the shopping district from March 2017. This would have been 3 months after its creation by Jonah Webb, the first owner of the shopping district, as well as its primary designer and builder. In the middle of March 2017, he would appoint me as a co-owner, and before that, he was working alone. I want to show you the district's infancy and compare it to the district of today to show you how far it has come, and splash in a little bit of history, of course. I'm going to give it to you from 3 different perspectives. One is going to be as a player or a shopper. Another is going to be as a plot owner. And another is going to be as an owner, just like Jonah Webb and myself. And I'm going to start us off with district access nowadays. You need apprentice rank or higher to enter. And while you have access, you can type /warp shop and get to the district in 2 seconds. You can also set a home inside the district. You can teleport to somebody that's in the district already. And you can also come into the district from the outside. If you are starter, amateur, or novice rank, you cannot enter the district in any way I mentioned. Lower ranking players cannot enter the district due to the World Guard region that's over the shopping district. And when the shopping district was just getting started, it didn't have this World Guard region to prevent lower ranking players from entering. And without the World Guard region, it meant that anyone could access it. It effectively had no rank requirement at all. The 2 big things that this led to was a lot of theft. It felt like, from my perspective at least, it felt like every 2 to 5 days there was theft in the district, and staff had to come and deal with it. They didn't particularly like the shopping district due to that. But unfortunately for them, it was just something that they had to deal with on top of X-rayers and griefers and all the other rule breakers of the Simplex at the time. It also led to a lot of low-quality shops. If you were getting a shop in the district at such a low rank, it usually meant that the shop you were going to build was going to be pretty cheap looking, and what you were going to be selling was whatever you got your hands on in the short amount of time that you were playing on the server. Besides the lack of a World Guard region, there was also no warp at the time. The shopping district was built east of spawn, 2 biomes away in a desert. He wanted it built close to spawn because the only way you'd primarily be able to get to the shopping district was on foot, and the quickest way to get there was going to be through the nether. So he made a portal east outside the spawn border and made a link all the way to the center of the shopping district through the nether. And walking from spawn to that portal, going through the stone brick tunnel in the nether and popping out here at the center of the shopping district was the way you got here at the time. You could teleport to somebody that was already here, and you could set a home here, but this was the first way that you got here. It was on foot. When you would come here for the first time, you would be greeted with, "Welcome to the shopping district. Have a sword ready and be wary of random roaming mobs." Whenever I became the co-owner of the shopping district, I put the sign here as a warning because during the night, pockets of darkness in the district made mobs spawn. Mobs also spawned in from the outside the district as well as on top of shop roofs, and ambushed me and other shoppers as well. The one thing good going for us, our saving grace, was the mob cap at the time. Nowadays, there's a mob cap and it's per player, but back then there was one mob cap and the mobs were distributed across everyone online at the time. Now, with how popular the server was, if you were playing like during prime time, that meant there were not a lot of hostile mobs spawning during the night. And it also meant some mob-based farms like iron farms and like Enderman grinders were particularly slow when the server was popping off. If there were any kind of announcements, we would put them all here. Not often were they for everyone to read. For the most part, they were just for the plot owners. But, in case it was like, the district closing or April Fools or something, whatever, just for the general public to know, we would put it here on these signs. Next to the district portal was the district credits. Jonah Webb was the primary builder and designer of the shopping district, with Captain Clorox helping him. We got the donators here. They helped to donate something and helped dig during the district's construction. Phoenix here in particular, who is a staff member now, I don't believe he was at the time, but if he was a staff member, I believe he would have been a helper at the time. He donated a lot of the stone brick that was used to build this district. So this is it for the district hub. It's very barren. Not a lot is going on in here, and compared to now, it's outfitted better. There is a book and lectern with the district roles, a hopper for requesting your plot, a display of armor stands for all the different district staff members. There's nothing like that here. Back then, when it was only run by a single person, it did make sense that something like a board displaying who is on the district staff team and their title wasn't necessary. Back then, if you wanted to know who ran the district, you checked who owned the claim, and you could do that by breaking a block somewhere or getting a stick or a golden shovel and right-clicking around somewhere. And whenever I became the co-owner of the shopping district with Jonah Webb, the way I earned my reputation wasn't, putting a sign saying, oh, I'm the co-owner, or having like a board posted of like, this person's the owner, this person's the co-owner, and, here are all the managers and stuff. I did it through my actions. I did that by answering plot requests. I did that by just doing my duties, really. And slowly over time, I earned my reputation as, Jonah Webb's helper, co-owner, companion, whatever you wanted to call me. At last, this is the shopping district of March 2017. You will immediately notice that it is primarily made out of stone bricks and secondarily made out of smooth stone slabs. There is 2 rings, and they are circular compared to the squares nowadays. There is 2 plot sizes. There is a small 7x7 and a larger 11x11. All these empty plots here on the top half of the second ring were to be upgraded to 11x11s. But before that upgrade, this would bring the total number of plots of the district to 48. And after the upgrades, it would have been 44 plots. If you take a look around, there is no dual plots, and there is no mini shops. As for what was being sold at the time, I partially know what was in this shop. I fully know what was in this shop, and my shop, my first shop, I know what I was selling at the time. All the others, I don't know, but I know a few from memory. I'm going to start with my shop first, of course. My shop was a bookstore at the time. I was selling my earliest short story books. This shop here, owned by Evie.awesome, was selling nature-related items, such as leaf blocks, vines, and flowers. This shop here was selling books and bookshelves. We got this shop here that sold enchanted books, but they weren't particularly good. Styrowind was selling glass of all colors for a diamond for a stack. It's a pretty bad price nowadays, but back then that's just how it was at the time. In fact, I will briefly mention that a deal for glass was actually a diamond for 3 stacks of any color. Fleeks's shop was selling wool and surplus stone. I imagine his prices for wool would have been 1 diamond for 2 to 3 stacks, since this is a time before automatic wool farms. Unlike many of the shops that relied on an honor system and containers for storing shop stock, you sent him mail of what you wanted from his shop. He would get back to you with what you wanted when it was ready and do the transaction with him in person. We also have O'Shiva. I believe his other name was That Shiva. But he was selling snow blocks and ice blocks. Yeah, let's take a look at Veelstar's Woodshop. Veelstar is known as a former admin of Simplex. But back then, he wasn't on the staff team yet. He would soon be. And he was selling wood, mostly. He had a wood shop here. And after I demolished a plot that was here, he migrated over here and expanded what he was selling a bit. So yeah, as a player back then, this was what he was selling at the time. Mob heads, discs, which you could test in this jukebox. Cobblestone, obsidian for ender chests. Not sure about these 2 boxes. Golden apples. Enchanted golden apples. Logs. Saddles. Dragon heads. And shulker boxes, which the prices at the time would have been 1 shulker box for 3 to 5 diamonds. Many players and their shops came and went. If there wasn't a new shop to check out, there was an established shop that renovated recently. Or a shop was on its way out about to be demolished soon, in which case, you bought what you could from it before it was gone. It's safe to say that none of you watching will recognize the names of any players that owned plots during the district's early days. But there is one familiar name that acquired their plot during the dawn of the shopping district. If this comment on the forums is anything to go by, Sneaky Kitty claimed her inner ring plot on the southeast corner on the 6th of January 2017, mere days after the shopping district opened. Amazingly, despite the passage of time and the server reset, you can find her in today's shopping district in that same corner plot. And this was her shop at the time. It was very tall, actually. This shop here, Sneaky Kitties, and this shop was probably the tallest shops in the district at the time. Her shop was pretty rare too, in terms of type. It was redstone based. Her machines at the time were selling golden carrots, a block of emerald for a diamond. There's leather for a golden nugget. And also a block of glowstone for a golden nugget. Her shop now is so much more luxurious than this. So her shop, as well as Jonah Webb's, and this shop here were the only shops that had redstone machines at the time, which is very surprising given how small the plots were at the time. It would have been difficult. But some players made it work. Speaking of plots, let's compare the current district to the district of the past. So here in red is a row plot and a corner plot for the inner ring, as well as for the middle ring and the outer ring as well. Here in gray is a 7x7 and a 11x11. And to really put into perspective how tiny plots were back then, this is what those plots are like with shops in them. It's crazy to think how small these really were. Just look how tiny they are compared to these giants. So this is Phoenix's shop, a 11x11. Look at that compared to a 9x17 and 17x17 corner plot. It's just so humble. And you can even see that over here. This is the district's two smallest plot sizes. The largest that the district had to offer, a 11x11, fits inside of these, which is, for me at least, crazy to think about. So this is the shopping district at nighttime, and as you can see, your nighttime experience in the shopping district could be met with spiders, creepers, zombies, skeletons, the works. Many of them spawned on the outside of the district, like there. But there were also some times whenever they would spawn on top of like a shop roof here. And occasionally in the small pockets of darkness here on the ground. And this was because mob spawning for a lot of the common hostile mobs of the night was a little different back then. Nowadays, they need a light level of 0 to spawn. So, like this Tetris-looking shape here, stuff like zombies would have to spawn on this small space. Whereas back then, I believe the light level required for them to spawn was higher. So it would have been 7 or lower. So back then, it would have been more like this patch here would be where they would be able to spawn. And it would have been a much bigger area compared to now where, again, it's just these 4 spaces where they're able to spawn at. This would have been an easy fix back then, and especially now, you could just put a torch here and everything is all lit up. So that is it for the shopper's perspective. What was it like becoming and being a plot owner at the time? Well, you would first have to message or mail either Jonah Webb or myself. And you couldn't specify what plot you wanted because none of the plots were numbered at all. What rank you had also determined what plot you can get. So let's say you are a starter or an amateur, or a novice, you can only get the 7x7 plot. If you are apprentice, you can get the 7x7 or the larger 11x11. All these plots here that have the spruce border to them, I believe I mentioned already, but these were closed, so you couldn't claim these. But let's say you are a novice rank player and you want this plot. I would first tell you to go on the Simplex forums and read the shopping district guidelines posted by Jonah Webb under general discussion. If you go to the Simplex forums now, you can still find the first iteration of the shopping district rules that Jonah Webb made all those years ago. But while you are reading those, I would set up your shop sign for you. That would include your username and today's date. I would come in here and give you build trust. If you had any kind of questions regarding the rules, I would answer them. I would really stress that you need to check your shop sign every 7 days at minimum. And if the date on your sign was 8 days behind or more, then we will demolish your shop and remove plot ownership. All your shop remains would then go to the Hall of Retired Shops, which is down here. And we'll get to down here a little bit later. Now, by default, your plot sign is here. If you have a corner plot, then it would be right here at the corner. You can actually have this somewhere in your shop if you wanted to. So I'd say a good example was Vealstar's shop. His shop sign was actually right up here. There's also this shop as well that had their sign right here. Now you can only do this if your shop sign was somewhere visible. Like if we had to go out of our way to search for your shop sign to see, if your sign is out of date or not, then we would ask you to relocate it, or, perhaps we would just move it to the default location. Now I want to talk about the date on your sign. So over here in the United States, our dating format is the month, then the day, then the year. There were some players that didn't live in the United States where their dating format was the day first, then the month, then the year. This led to some players thinking that their sign was perfectly fine. But from our perspective, this sign would have been wildly out of date. So today is the 2nd of July, 2025. And to my United States brain, I would have read this sign as February 7th, 2025. For players like this, we would just have to keep in mind that their dating format is just a little different. One last thing before we move on from signs is protection against shop demolition. Back then, there was no safeguards like insurance or freeze banners, but there was one thing: an informal agreement between the plot owner and us, the district owners. This was off the books and was offered by Jonah Webb himself. I was taught this form of demolition protection, but never got a chance to give it out before it was removed. So let's say you are going on vacation, you have a medical emergency, your house burnt down or something. You're obviously not going to be in game for a while. Something you could request to Jonah Webb was to protect your shop. So Yeah, let's say you're going on a business trip or something. You would specify how long you think you're going to be, and Jonah Webb would protect you, for that duration. I remember him telling me that he wouldn't give any more than a month away because in district time, that is a very long time. But let's say you're going to be away for 18 days and you're absolutely certain that you cannot get on Minecraft to update your sign. What Jonah Webb would do is they would put a sign next to your shop sign saying, uh, like, shop protected until a certain date. If that date ever came and you didn't update your sign since then your shop would just be demolished as normal. If you did update your sign, well, the protection would be removed the next time shop signs were checked. And that would be it. It wasn't recorded in any way, like this kind of protection. And it didn't have like a name or anything to it. It was just called protection. All right, that's enough about shop signs. Now on to actually building inside of your plot. It was version 1.11 at the time. So the height limit would have been 256. And you would have started seeing bedrock at Y5. One special little thing you can do at the time was do overhangs like this. You'll notice that not only is this built on the plot border, but even if this wasn't here, the roof goes over the plot border. Just like with Veilstar's shop here. And Jonah Webb's plot did this as well. When you built your shop and stocked it all up, you would message or mail us that you were ready to open. We would come into your plot, give container trust to the public, and we would be on our way. Nowadays, if you want to open your plot, you have to go through a building inspection. That's because there is some things you can't do in your plot which you have to keep in mind while building. Back then, there was no restrictions, and you could build without worry. So, you are going to deal with thieves eventually. And I believe a pretty reliable way to just keep track of your shop's inventory was to, well, just keep track of the contents of your containers. So let's say you have 5 stacks of pistons in here. On this sign, you're just going to put a 5. If you check one day that there is a stack missing and diamonds are not there as payment, that means someone stole from this chest. If diamonds are in there, then, well, you take the diamonds out and you either restock this chest immediately or you update this sign showing that the last time that you looked in this chest, there was 4 stacks. Now, you could do this with signs. That's something I saw back in the day, but you could also do this out of the game with stuff like Notepad or an actual piece of paper or a memo book or something like that. Now, don't forget that you're a novice rank player, dear viewer. Let's say you reached apprentice rank and you want to move to a 11 by 11 plot. Or you want to go out of business and leave the shopping district. So, we have overhangs here. So whenever you demolish your shop, these overhangs are going to be remaining. You're going to have to contact Jonah Webb or myself one more time to get rid of this for you and just give you whatever we demolished, torn down. Or you could just kind of leave this. There was no formal way to leave the district at all. But a lot of the time, you just tore down everything, took all the blocks that were yours, and just left it as a mess. At which point, the next time we would update, well, the next time we would go through a cycle of checking shop signs, and we would see that, oh, you're not here anymore. We would have to clean up after your mess. If your shop was ever demolished because your shop sign wasn't updated, your shop would be torn down and it would be taken down here to the Hall of Retired Shops. We would have your username and the date that we demolished it. Let's say Kinsey wants to pick up their shop remains. You would have to contact us. You would pay a 9 diamond fee. There would be a subclaim that would go over the double chests as well as like right here. We'd stand in here and give container trust. You would, take all your stuff, and after you're done, we would, remove that trust, reset the sign here, and a new shop can be stored in here now. Shopping district auctions did not exist at the time, which meant these shops would have stayed down in this hall forever. It was believed that these were your items, period. If they weren't in your hands at the end of the day, then we couldn't do anything with them. Whenever shopping district auctions did come around, that mindset quickly dissolved. But that's just how it was at the time. This stayed down here forever. And of course, there was expansions. And this quickly would have filled up as well, especially just due to how popular the server was at the time. Many shops coming and going. Nowadays, you have a bigger pickup fee. It's 18 diamonds now. The Hall of Lost Shops is much bigger than this. And if you don't pick up your shop remains, it eventually gets auctioned off. So that's how it was as a plot owner at the time. Now I get to show you how it was as an owner of the shopping district. How do you run this old thing? Well, as the first co-owner of the shopping district, I learned everything from Jonah Webb. There were no written guides on how to check shop signs, how to demolish shops, how to do auctions, of course, because they didn't exist at the time, but just even like little stuff like protection when someone went on vacation or something. I learned everything from him. Whereas nowadays, you can learn everything from a written guide. I would say the catalyst for me becoming the co-owner of the shopping district would have been whenever Jonah Webb wanted help with demolishing shops. He had 6 to take down. It felt like 5.5 because one was a small shop. It was partially torn down. I answered that call and I got my first taste of demolishing shops. So the first thing I was taught as Jonah Webb's co-owner was to check shop signs. He instructed me to check every other day, but honestly, I checked as often as I could. My procedure at the time was to update my own shop sign, and then I would go clockwise through the inner ring, and then up to the second ring, and then be done. If there was anything wrong with your shop sign, let's say the date on it is too far into the future, or like this sign, it's the date is missing. There's also a case of your username and the name on this sign just don't match. Not due to nicknames, but your actual username being different. We would fix it ourselves, and we would message or mail you what the problem was, and we would hope you would just reform. All we could really do was give slaps on the wrist. But let's say we did find a shop that was, well, out of date. We would put a sign next to this saying marked for demolition and the date that we found that, this sign was out of date. And we leave it be for 1 day. The next time we come around here and see that the sign is still out of date, then we start demolition procedures. But if you updated your sign, then we would break this sign and we wouldn't demolish your shop. Before we even start, we would actually take a screenshot of particularly the shop itself, the sign, your shop sign, as well as the sign that says marked for demolition on whatever date we're checking. This was insurance against accusations of grief. So if you ever accused us of demolishing your shop too early, then we could show staff the screenshot that we take right now that no, this was a lawful, tear down. We didn't demolish your shop early. You're wrong. We wouldn't, go to jail for grief for those kind of cases. We didn't utilize Discord for like shop demolition reports at all. We had these screenshots. And eventually that kind of practice just faded away. But I know for my first few shops, particularly these two down here, which we saw earlier, these two shops, which I officially demolished as a co-owner, I would have taken screenshots of these two shops. At the time, we did have a Haste 1 beacon. I can't remember if it was Haste 2, but even if it was, it didn't really matter because our tools at the time were Efficiency 4. We didn't have Efficiency 5. But that didn't matter too much because shops were already pretty small. A shop like this could easily fit inside my inventory. But for bigger shops, for let's say like this shop here, just imagine that there's like tons of stock on like each floor. We would have needed shulker boxes and we just had to use our own. I remember having a red and a lime one. Jenna Webb had his own, personal shulkers. I would say he had a handful, like 4 or 5. I was taught by Jenna Webb to first take out all the shop stock first, and then tear down the shop from the top to the bottom. And then, of course, take it down to the Hall of Retired Shops. If there was anyone just, picking up stuff as it fell down from the shop, we would report that player for theft. If there was any kind of pets, we would actually not kill those, unlike today. This shop in particular, Krista, a former helper, her shop actually used to be right here. And I did not kill the horse that was inside of it. I just kind of, put it here. So that was the shopping district of March 2017. It had so much potential, so much to go through yet. With the benefit of hindsight, stuff happening in the near future were shopping district auctions, a third ring for more plots, bringing it up to 68 plots. I would eventually become the new owner with Jonah Webb stepping down. Plots would eventually be expanded. The sandstone of the district would be turned to grass. The district would be getting a warp in 2 months, and so much more. At this point in time, the district was very simple, very primitive, very bare bones. But there was a lot to look forward to. So much. And after so many years, it's become the district that it is today. through the many staff members, and of course, all the players that still see this as the premier shopping center of Simplex. So that is all. I thank you all for watching. I will see you all next time.